All right, the Gauteng Education MEC, Panyaza Lesufi, says that all schools in South Africa belong to all races. Earlier, the MEC held a media briefing on the concerns surrounding the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. The so-called BELA Bill seeks to amend the South African Schools Act and to address a variety of issues, including the language policies at schools, home education, alcohol use on school premises, etc. The DA says that under the bill, which they describe as discriminatory, the heads of provincial education departments and MECs will ultimately decide what language is taught at schools and who is admitted to the school. We are joined via Zoom by Professor Leketi Makalela. He is the director of the Hub of Multilingual Education and Literacies at the University of Witwatersrand. A very good afternoon to you, Prof. Thanks so very much for being with us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners.
What do you make of this? This is what AfriForum Solidarity and the DA have referred to the changes. They've said it's a breach of the 1994 settlement, an attempt to hijack functioning schools, as they call it. They've said it is draconian. What do you make of these types of words being thrown at this BELA Bill?
Yeah, I would distance myself from the politics made out of this. But as far as I read the bill and understood it, it's very clear it's a consultative process. What the head of department would do is to consult with school governing body for any desired changes. It should be within the prescripts of the law and the scrutiny of something that will be justifiable by the courts. So I do not see the sensation around, overtaking schools or any of the sentiments that you really hear. The point is the head of department is the custodian. They run an oversight on the schooling. It was a more decentralized process where school governing bodies had the absolute authority. But the question is, would you leave the school governing bodies in cases where you see that some of the decisions that they take are not constitutional, they're not within the prescript of the language in education policy, for example. In 1997, all school governing bodies in South Africa were accorded an opportunity, for example, to promote multilingualism. Okay, so it's almost 20 years now, more than 20 years, in fact. 2017, that's when this bill was proposed to try to say, can we? Until when are you going to wait? And up until now, many of you would know, for example, that African speakers of African languages, they learn through their home languages for the first 3 years. And the reason gravitations were changing that policy or practice that started in the 1800s, in fact. On the other hand, you've got schools that use the language to discriminate against others for admission.
Yeah.
So as an oversight, if you play an oversight role, do you sit and say, well, let's hope that the school governing bodies one day will bring about changes?
Well, are we able to call, a spade here? When I see the term that this is an attempt to hijack functioning schools, are we saying that if we allow certain people into the schools, that it is hijacking a functioning school? I mean, the fact of the matter is that the actual discrimination that we see here is that, language has been used in a way to segregate learners. And are there undertones, as some have seen, of this being or involving some racist element? I mean, if you look at the statement by the MEC, Panyaza Lesufi, he has indeed indicated that this seems more about race issues, not even about the issue of language. And the statement and what they've said there, that it is an attempt to hijack functioning schools, does indeed point to the fact that there is some sort of a race undertone or element to it.
Well, when we speak about languages, race become at the center. Historically, English and Afrikaans, mother tongue speakers, have the privilege to learn through their languages, and they only learn their languages in most cases. Now, if you change the language in education policy, for example, or you insist on the prescripts of multilingualism and say that everybody should learn an African language, just as an example, that then becomes an issue, and we interpret this as race, even though it's really a matter of there are a lot of issues around social cohesion. I believe that especially on the language question, it's very clear to me that we cannot use race to hide the importance of all South Africans, and multilingualism being a norm that has been adopted from the Constitution, the 1997 Language in Education Policy. And I see this bill as an enabler rather than a disabler. I haven't seen anything in the bill that suggests otherwise, some of the sentiments that we hear.
All right, thanks very much to you for speaking to us, Prof. Leketi Makalela, who is the director of the Hub for Multilingual Education and Literacies at the University of the Witwatersrand.